Yes, but we are ready to get started with this very first CAPRI kickoff webinar. So thanks everyone for joining us today. As we get started, please do not miss this opportunity to go to slido.com, and with the code that you have on your screen or by scanning the QR code, you can answer this question. How do you know when your teaching approach has impacted your students? So we want to hear from you. We want to hear from the experts that you are in your classrooms. What do you think? When do you think or when do you know your teaching has impacted your learners? So Dr. Flores, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Ojeda. Good, very early morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the very small world. And welcome to this exciting kickoff session on CAPRI. I'm going to be your moderator for today, and I'm going to be thrilled to have a panel of experts work with us to explore this very well talked about framework, but really never formalized. So this is a really cool opportunity. I'm kind of dancing in my seat here. This emphasizes contextualized, applicable, practical, relevant, and inclusive teaching and learning. Again, just formalizing what we're already doing in the classroom so we can do it even better. Today's discussion is going to focus on the significance of considering real-world situations and student needs and experiences in the design of learning activities. And our panelists are going to share their experiences. They're going to share their insights on how we can approach CAPRI and how we can take it to create a more dynamic and engaging educational experience that leads to deeper understanding and greater impact. We have a fantastic lineup of knowledgeable and experienced professionals who are going to bring a wealth of perspective to this discussion. And throughout this discussion, I do encourage you to pose your questions to the panelists in the Zoom chat box. Don't forget, Slido is also there for you before Dr. Ojeda changes this slide. So please do respond to that. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's learn from the panel, their wisdom, their expertise. I am confident you are going to find this session informative, engaging, and inspiring. And that's because we're going to be extending a warm welcome to our panelists. So representing our faculty body is Roxanne Goodman, Assistant Professor at the College of Business. Professor Goodman believes that effective teaching and learning needs to be balanced and is really excited about the opportunity to leverage practices shared in the CAPRI framework. Representing academic administration is Jody Constant, Associate Dean for the College of Education. Professor Constant believes that effective teaching and learning is a process that involves creating a positive and engaging educational environment that fosters student motivation, higher order thinking, and mastery of subject matter applied authentically, which is why the most exciting aspect of the CAPRI framework for her is that it connects student to course content, to real world situations and experiences. Our next panel member is Dr. Broding, Mary Broding, Curriculum and Instructional Designer and New Faculty Orientation Coordinator. She approaches her work through the lens of the CAPRI framework, encompassing and supporting teaching and learning that is individualized, timely, and applicable. Our Westcliff head of curriculum also joins us today. Jocelyn Sorensen is certain that CAPRI presses educators to think beyond the traditional one-way knowledge communication, professor to student. Instead, it requires students to be actively engaged in the learning process. For Jocelyn, CAPRI addresses student engagement within the student's respective content, making learning an individualized experience. Westcliff's Director of Professional Development, Dr. Evelyn Ojeda, believes that effective teaching and learning take place when strategies instructors implement meet student needs while simultaneously acknowledging the uniqueness of each individual. What she appreciates most about CAPRI is that it is fully student-centered. The students are the stars of the learning process. Curriculum and Instructional Designer, Dr. Jeannie Klocko, believes that effective teaching involves using real-world knowledge to engage adult learners in the course experience and considers CAPRI a lived framework, that it's easily integrated into all aspects of effective instructional practices. Our special guest today is Dr. Mihaela Tănăsescu, Westcliff's Vice President of Academic Affairs. Dr. Tănăsescu states that teaching and learning effectiveness is about how learning outcomes are set and to what extent students achieve the outcomes. With that in mind, the CAPRI framework aligns with current learning outcomes, informs how we think about them going forward, and ensures that course activities and components also align with outcomes so that what we measure is appropriate. Our panelists have been carefully selected for their expertise, their experiences, and their roles at Westcliff University. So, what can you receive today by investing your time in this webinar? Let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to review CAPRI. What is CAPRI? We're going to have a panel discussion. There will be faculty discussion, and then we're going to explore how we're going to weave CAPRI into the fabric of our institution formally in 2023. So, Jocelyn Sorensen, what exactly is CAPRI anyway?
Well, good morning. We wanted to begin by setting the stage, if you will, for a conversation on CAPRI and communicate both what it is and why it's important. CAPRI is, excuse me, a teaching and learning framework. So what is a teaching and learning framework, you ask? Well, that's a really great question. We spent quite a bit of time talking about this. Teaching and learning frameworks are based on research and are developed to bring together a motivating and engaging classroom with the classroom activities itself, the various assessments in a course, as well as the learning goals, right? So it just makes this a coherent whole out of all of these different aspects through a set of lenses. The most successful of these models work to empower students to both bring and activate their prior knowledge and experience, as well as to have the opportunity to build upon foundational knowledge through a range of activities where they practice and have agency in their learning. So CAPRI is a framework that was curated by Westcliff administration based on decades of research. When you look through it, you can see a bunch of different frameworks kind of coming together. You can see here it has various components. So I'd like to go through them very briefly. And sorry, I'm switching between my notes and the slide. The first is contextualized learning in alignment with student interest and expertise, right? That individualization, the bringing together or the bringing forward of prior knowledge. Applied learning through creative case-based problem solving. Practical learning by doing in a real world environment. Relevant learning to address current and future industry demands. And ending in inclusive learning for diverse needs and varying perspectives. The series of workshops that we have going this year will help us to think critically about how we orient our teaching and learning efforts around the principles represented here in the CAPRI model. Working to create a learning environment through this set of lenses, I think makes us better leaders, better educators, and creates a student-centric learning environment. So I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Flores.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go right on into our panel discussion. While we're having our panel discussion, I do encourage you to drop your questions in the Zoom chat box, and we will be answering them as we go along. Okay, starting us off on this panel discussion is faculty member, Professor Goodman, and COE Associate Dean, Professor Constan. So the question for each of you is, how do you use the elements of CAPRI to contribute to the success of learners in your respective roles? Professor Goodman, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it's about, I like how when Dr. Sorensen was just talking about individualizing the application of the information, taking time to know my students so I know where they have opportunities, and developing activities that are going to help them minimize those opportunities and maximize the strengths in their learning. I want them to be able to apply the information to their workplace, right? The authentic assessments that we're providing, put them in the place of actual situations that can occur in the workplace. And so they can think and put themselves in those roles as managers and leaders, employees in some circumstances. So when those situations do take place, they're ready, they can pull back, they can use these tools, the information that we've provided, the assessments, go back and say, I remember this activity. What did I learn and how can I apply this to this situation? So I think the framework allows us to provide them with the tools that they need to be successful, not only in the classroom, because yes, they're going to have a degree, but the degree has a purpose that they want to utilize this information so that they can continue to be successful leaders in their workplace.
Thanks, Dr. Goodman. I agree with so much that you've said. I mean, how as classroom leaders, as university leaders, could we not want to reinforce this idea of CAPRI by having students contextualize their learning, apply their learning, make it practical and relevant, and of course, be inclusive, which is really what we see in our Westcliff classrooms. There's really not a doubt that I don't think anybody here today could argue with. When I think of rigor and relevance in the classroom, it really draws me into the research from Daggett and that real importance of being able to take what we're learning in the classroom and apply it outside, so that when they leave here with that degree, they know that they have a solid foundation for whatever pursuit it is that they're going to be involved in, what they're passionate about, that they're prepared to be successful in that. And so when I think about the classroom, providing context for the content, the material being taught, making sure that students can take their prior knowledge and connect it, right? Like moving away from really that literal inferential thinking to real high order abstract thoughts, and making sure that we can connect that and make it relevant to their lives, I really think can be achieved by making sure that we have real world situation and problems, projects and problem-based learning in the classroom, and making sure that we even have current events or pop culture. These are things that are of interest to students. When we think about applying learning, I think, as you said, when we apply learning, we retain learning. And so we want them to be able to retain that information better, develop real deep understandings of the material. Really, if I think of coherence, I really want students in the classrooms to know that they're part of a collaborative culture, to know that they're really deepening their learning, being held accountable, and securing that accountability for their learning. And all of that is through having purpose-driven focus, direction, which comes from university leadership and that classroom leadership. And so I do think hands-on projects, case studies allow for that practical, relevant aspect that we should be seeing and cultivating in our classrooms. And then I do want to say that when we look at our student body and we really take in the impact that we have 108 or more countries represented in our classrooms, and all of those cultures are representative. We've got different ages, we've got different
lifestyles,
exactly, so many people. So when I think of an inclusive classroom, I think that also helps us to engage with open minds, diverse perspectives, and all of that promotes that positive learning environment that we really want. And I think having culturally relevant teaching strategies and inclusive content makes for a safe and respectful classroom.
Absolutely. I would like to piggyback that, I think most of us do introductions when we have that first class. And I find more often than not, what they're asking for is to be able to apply the information. They can read it. They'll tell you, oh, I understand a theory, but I want to know, how does this apply to not to the classroom, to my workplace, to my job? I've got this current situation that's happening. Oh my gosh, this is great. Now I understand how I can talk to my employee. They want that. That's what they're seeking. Even more than the degree, to be able to utilize this information in their workplace so that they can be better leaders. They will tell you that more often than not. So,
and I really love that we can bring that industry related experience into the classroom, not just as professors, but by having conversations. But it might be bringing in a guest speaker or just knowing what the industries are looking for. And I really think that's key to 21st century learning and teaching. So when we think about our approaches to the classroom and our approaches to CAPRI, we are creative. We are creating critical thinkers. We are creating collaborative environments. When we really emphasize the different ways in which we communicate today, and that really allows for powerful educational experiences.
Absolutely.
I think it sets up today's students for tomorrow's possibilities.
Absolutely. I love that. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Goodman. Thank you, Professor Constant. As you can see today, attendees, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to CAPRI elements, so much so that even 1 hour per element really is not enough. So the question for instructional designer, Dr. Jeannie Klocko, and Director of Professional Development, Dr. Xiao Heda, is how will faculty be supported in their quest to deep dive into the CAPRI framework?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Great question. And currently, it's really exciting. I see that development as a two-prong approach. So first, it's not enough to just have a framework. And I've said this before for myself. It needs to be a lived framework. Coming from a background of education, I like to see how frameworks are literally lived within the curriculum. So it's a two-prong approach. One is what we're calling our Curriculum Champion Starter Kit, and that's actually how I came on board to Westcliff. It started out as a brilliant idea, and it is now becoming a lived aspect of Westcliff. And it will be a series of self-directed, self-guided modules that, if you think of the shape of a funnel, it starts from macro to micro. So it goes from university and CAPRI conceptualization to very specific tools for development to provide support for IDs and SMEs. There'll be modules on, there's a module on CAPRI specifically and how to apply those conceptualizations into instructional design and subject matter expert practices, as well as modules on specific tools then to support those applications, such as universal design, backward assessment. And then there'll also be a module actually dedicated to examining our Curriculum Champions Board. Thank you, Jocelyn, for that brainchild. And just to kind of give you an overview of the organizational structural components of curriculum design. Just to be clear, it's not to tell subject matter experts or IDs what to do, it's to provide them with a vast array of tools in order to integrate the conceptualization of CAPRI throughout the design process. And then the other aspect, which I'll speak to briefly, is the actual CAPRI modules. Currently, there will be modules developed for each specific aspect of CAPRI, conceptualization, application, and that the vision of that is that you could literally go through those modules and say, oh, that's a quick and easy 10-minute integration of relevance, very doable. And that's kind of the goal behind that, the whole framework, is that it's very simple, easy peasy, very easily integrated, but yet very effective. And that is my view, and I will mute. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Actually, the Professional Development Department is working really hard to create a series of CAPRI-based professional development initiatives that meet the needs of our diverse faculty body. First, we will facilitate live webinars like this one, in which we will discuss each of the CAPRI components in order to help faculty implement these elements in their classrooms. Also, we are designing, as Jeannie said, CAPRI modules on Spoke. So these courses will be self-paced, which means you can complete these modules whenever you like, at your own speed, in no hurry. So these modules will also provide you, faculty members, with templates, guides, examples of what CAPRI looks like in the classroom. Additionally, the Professional Development Department is revising and enhancing the Light-Centered Classroom Visits form. And this is with the purpose of aligning each CAPRI component to this form to each CAPRI component. This way, what you're going to be learning in the webinars, in the courses, in everything that we are preparing for you, is exactly what you will find in the form used by the Light Center member when your classroom is visited. And finally, there will always be opportunities for faculty members to reach out to us and ask for one-on-one support if necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Xiao Heda. Very helpful. Okay, so it is wonderful to hear about the opportunities that current faculty are going to have to explore CAPRI. But Dr. Roding, what about our new faculty members? How do we get them in on this conversation? What do you have in store for us? What do you have in store for them in your role as new faculty orientation coordinator?
So to piggyback off of what Dr. Shaheda was discussing with those individualized CAPRI courses, new faculty are going to have access to those immediately. And the goal of each of those courses is to introduce faculty to the CAPRI component and to give them the opportunity to actually create lesson plans with elements and activities that support each of those components of CAPRI. With that being said, new faculty orientation asynchronous course in Spoke is also going to be revised through the lens of CAPRI in terms of making it all of those elements for the faculty as learners, and also introducing them to CAPRI so that when they are ready, they can hop over to those more extensive courses in Spoke and really take a deeper dive, hopefully in real time as they are teaching or in preparation for upcoming courses.
Thank you, Dr. Brody. We've heard a little bit about the curriculum champions. We've heard a little bit about instructional designers and their plans for CAPRI launch and integration. But the discussion really would not be complete considering that the CAPRI framework and our curriculum champions, especially as many of our attendees serve as SMEs, if we didn't have them comment on that process. So Dr. Shaheda, we're going to bring you back into the conversation. You serve as diversity, equity, and inclusion scorer in the curriculum champions process. So how do you see your role as scorer taking into account the I in CAPRI inclusive?
Oh, that is actually a wonderful question. My role as diversity, equity, and inclusion scorer, I think is of paramount importance, as these three values are actually guiding principles in the CAPRI framework. In my role, I help identify areas where our courses can improve in terms of creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive learning experience where all Westcliff University students are certain that their voices are heard, that their voice matters to us while feeling valued, respected, and supported in their academic journey with us.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Dr. Shaheda. So Jocelyn Sorensen, as someone who has the opportunity to explore teaching and learning frameworks in depth, can you tell us a little bit about some of the barriers that you foresee as we highlight the CAPRI framework and undergo the adoption of this framework as a Westcliff way of work?
Yeah, thanks. So I've actually thought a lot about this question, and I'd like to reorient it a bit as I respond. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh man, I'm such a downer. I always talk about these barriers. But I think a wise person once told me that barriers are just opportunities for us to reach higher and jump higher and be better. So I'd like to turn over a new leaf for myself and think about it in that perspective as we discuss. I think that some of the barriers that I see are a set of opportunities presented to all of us, not just curriculum champs, to return to a posture and position of the learner as we embark on looking at how we can adapt our own teaching and content and relationships with students through this lens, through this framework. It's going to require us to take a moment and self-reflect and be willing to be the learner, because we all come from different perspectives, from different places. We have different educational backgrounds, and we're all like kind of in a different place to do this. Very few people in higher education have extensive training in teaching and learning frameworks if they're outside of education degree programs, right? This is not something that anyone expects you to know or be an expert in. And even those that are trained, I think every time I talk to a person who has extensive knowledge in this area, they're always learning new things. They're always learning about new frameworks or new ways of doing things. I know when I started here, like no one had heard of universal design for learning, right? Somebody was like, oh yeah, I heard about that once. But it's so central to like some other people's work, right? So we're all learners in this context, and that's really an exciting place to be, I think. So that's a major opportunity here. So just, I don't know, it never ends. One of the barriers I see is this ever evolving set of needs presented by students in the classroom and outside the classroom. that we as the more mature educators maybe don't understand, right? Maybe there's a generational gap. They have different ways of thinking, they have different ways of learning, and sometimes we just don't get it. Like, why is it that they just can't understand what we're saying? And we have the opportunity to listen to a new generation of incoming college students who maybe are going to college for very different reasons than we did, or have a different perspective as to like how best to learn. And we get to find out how they think, what they connect with, what motivates them, and then adapt ourselves to help them, right? Yeah, they definitely keep us on our toes, right? Yeah, oh, sorry, Dr. Spath, right? To make sure that we keep our passion to learn as well. I absolutely love that, absolutely. Another barrier or opportunity that I foresee is the perception that the turn to focus on the socio-emotional needs of our student is equated with a decrease in rigor. And that is actually the exact opposite of what CAPRI should be doing. And so if that's something you see or feel, just know that is not the end goal. And like, we want to then look at how to reorient and move forward, because the socio-emotional opportunities that are presented are not to replace rigor, but rather to actually bring rigor to the fore, where we are now, like, the foundational knowledge is a given in all of this conversation about teaching and learning frameworks, about looking at the emotional needs of our students. I think that you often in these conversations don't talk about the content because that's not the focus, but the content is the foundation that we use as a launching point to bring it into people's worlds in a real and impactful way. So we have the opportunity to provide the material to students in a way that they're able to now absorb and apply, and not just regurgitate back to us, right? Looking at how students learn, what motivates them, how to like engage the connections between that knowledge and the real world, right? Dr. Goodman mentioned that in the beginning, right? They want to know how to apply it. We want to know how it changes them, right? Not just how they feel about it in this fuzzy way, but in a like, how does learning about ethics change their behavior? How does learning about ethics change the way that they do work? It doesn't take away the expectations, but rather forces them to apply in a meaningful way. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Dr. Fink and his theory of significant learning. And in that, he talks about multiple things that need to happen. I've mentioned some of them already, and I'm always happy to chat about Fink later. He talks about like caring, like why should the student care, this foundational knowledge, and all of these socio-emotional aspects that come together to create an environment in which a student is actually able to take in information and integrate it into their worldview, to integrate it into their person. And his emphasis is largely on also remembering that students are people. They're not empty vessels to be filled, but rather they bring something to the conversation. And by connecting with who they are as people, we are able to get them to take their learning to the next level. Which kind of leads me to that third part that I'll end with, of adopting CAPRI as a way of work. We are largely already doing this, right? The Light Center has been doing this. This is not something that's completely new. It's we're just now kind of formalizing our conversations about it. So for those of you who are like, oh, something new, like, we're already doing it, guys. Like, we're just now talking about it. So what we need is consistency, coherence, and enthusiastic implementation across all departments, both academic and support services. It has to be a holistic approach for it to be like truly when we talk about a way of work, we're really talking about the culture of Westcliff, the culture of teaching and learning. And that's sometimes sometimes difficult, right? Because everybody has their own ideas, and we're a diverse body of people, and we're going to disagree about what this looks like. And I think that it's an opportunity to have some really good conversations, and again, in that posture of learning. Adopting curriculum is just one piece of the puzzle, right? It can be, but it has to be implemented in the environment, in that classroom, in the conversations with students and the relationships that you build with them. Making changes to your classroom and to those conversations requires all the way back to school to learn from others, and to do some deep reflection on our own words and actions and how we are impacting the people around us. The intentionality necessary to do this is time consuming and requires us all to step outside of our comfort zones. But I think I would put forward that the dividends and the benefits are totally worth it.
Thank you for that note of positivity, and continuing on that positivity streak. Dr. Tănăsescu, this last question is for you. So how does highlighting the CAPRI framework fulfill our university's mission and vision?
Hello, everyone. So lovely to see you all here today. I like the question about the mission because it's about the why. So if I read Westcliff's mission to educate, inspire, and empower students from around the world to achieve personal and professional success by providing practical, innovative, high-quality campus and online programs. So you see some key words there. I'd like to focus on success. Practical is also a keyword here. So when we talk about student success, you are probably part of this broader conversation in higher education around skills and preparing students for the workforce, preparing them to build a career, to get a job and build a career, as well as respond to the needs of the industry and be able to adapt to what's happening. Just a second there. In the rapid changes. This is a very fast evolving moment. The needs are changing. The skills, the knowledge for people in the workplace are changing at a very rapid speed. Much more fast than even in the last couple of decades. Hence, when we expose students and we engage them in learning that's aligned with their expertise, like somebody was saying here, like very related, something that they can relate to their background and their workplace, say at this point in time. When we engage them in case-based assignments and problem-based learning, when we do expose them to learning by doing, when we pay attention to the currency of our assignments and the deliverables from the students, that they need to be aligned with the industry trends at this point in time, when we considering diverse perspectives, in other words, when the learning is contextualized, applied, practical, relevant, and inclusive, we're very much preparing them in a way for their job and their career, in a way that is very much going to support their success at this point in time and also in the future. So I really liked when somebody was talking about learning outcomes. The elements of the model are very much aligned with our institutional learning outcomes as well. So that's ensured in an implicit or explicit manner. So the diversity piece, the inclusion piece is an explicit alignment with one of our institutional learning outcomes, which is also threaded through all the program learning outcomes. But the model also is about ensuring the environment, the context, the experience for in which the student is more likely to succeed. So I see it as both very much aligned with mission and with supporting student success with that practical element, and also very much embedded, if you will, in our institutional learning outcomes.
Thank you, Dr. Tănăsescu, and thank you to our panel members. We absolutely appreciate your sharing your expertise, your thoughts, and we are so excited to dive right on into our faculty discussion. So faculty, as educators, we're constantly looking for new ways to improve our teaching, to make that positive impact on our learners. I mean, that's why we teach, right? As you heard from our panelists, frameworks like CAPRI do provide this roadmap for teaching and help us formalize these underlying principles and these best practices of effective education at Westcliff University. So today we are going to be discussing the question, why is knowing about theoretical frameworks salient in effective teaching? So to start, Dr. Xiao is going to break you up into small groups, and each group is going to have a specified number of minutes. Dr. Xiao will lead us through that in just a minute. And you're going to be able to discuss and answer the question being posed. After Dr. Xiao leads us through that recommended amount of time, we are going to reconvene as a large group. I encourage you to be open. I encourage you to be active engaged in active listening and just build upon each other's ideas. Right? So Dr. Xiao, would you now lead us through this activity?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Flores. Now I will be opening 4 breakout rooms to start this group discussion. You will be assigned to one specific room, but please join after having taken a screenshot of the question. I will be sending it through the broadcast message as well. So you will be discussing the questions that you will be discussing in your designated rooms. So that question is, why is knowing about theoretical frameworks salient in effective teaching? For this purpose, we have created a Jamboard with, well, I created 11 slides because I didn't know how many people we were going to have today, but we're going to be using only 4. So we have created a Jamboard and I'm going to share the link with you right now on the chat. Okay, so please use the slide with your breakout room number on top. You can use text, sticky notes, images to keep notes on your conversations. Once back, we will refer to those slides while discussing our breakout rooms takeaways as a whole group. So you will have 5 minutes to complete this discussion. And as Dr. Flores recommended, please be open, engage in active listening, and build upon each other's ideas. So you have the link on the chat. I am going to open the breakout rooms and I'm going to leave, for recording purposes, I am going to leave one group in the main room, and you will find your Jamboard slide saying main room on top. So any questions before I open the breakout rooms? Again, this is an open discussion. Please use that active listening. Think about your role as instructors at Westcliff University, and if there are no questions, I'm going to open the rooms right now and see you all in 5 minutes.
Is everyone in this room in the main room, or do we have some that still need to move?
No, we have everyone in this room will stay in this main room. Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Xiao, would you mind moving Miss Rima and I to a new breakout room if that's possible? If not,
Absolutely.
No worries.
No, it's perfect. Room 1 then.
Thank you so much.
Well, so I guess we need to use the sticky notes and add our thoughts, right?
I'm so sorry, Dr. Xiao, I was actually wondering if we could have a solo room.
A what?
A new solo room, like a brand new room, just Rima and I.
I don't really know how to do that.
No, okay, no worries, no worries.
Oh, okay.
Can you pull Miss Rima back in here? I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen for the main room so you can discuss your thoughts and then have this recorded.
Okay, so we need to discuss here first, right? Before adding any notes on the PowerPoint. So is it open for discussion or just typing our thoughts?
No, I think we can have a discussion on this and then writing in the meantime our notes, or we can do both ways. We can just write the notes and then discuss as well.
So I like the idea when we mentioned the main purpose of CAPRI, really to help the student, even the teacher, to be both understand and have all the elements in the CAPRI really are very important. Especially we have AI, affiliate institution students. So Westcliff University, as known, it is more international students, right? So we have a student come here to the campus. At the same time, we have affiliate institution students that located in different countries. The point that was mentioned by Dr. Tanasisco, that also it is very important for Westcliff to have opportunity or to give opportunity to all its students, regardless located in US or AI students, to get a good job. So regardless where they are. So when they graduate, they need to get their job in their countries or anywhere else. So this is good if really we have the syllabus reflect this. So I mean, talking about contextualization, just to give them understand how really we have applicable, theoretical, and practical information or thoughts in general to be applied regardless their location, how really they can benefit from all the courses that we offer at Westcliff University.
Absolutely, Dr. Nino. And that actually gets to the heart of CAPRI, because it takes in all the different ways, methods that individual students learn. And without being grounded somewhere, you can't build upon that. Without knowing what it is that students need or how they learn, you can't create the tools that you use in the classroom. We can talk all we want about context, putting it in context, but unless we know how the students may hope to use the knowledge, we won't be able to identify the right examples or scenarios that will then help them.
Yeah, because sometimes it confused me, because in general, when we talk, we say this is Westcliff American University. However, so the student, right, they get American University, American degree. I mean, they complete their education at American University, but at the end, they will go back to their countries, or already they educated. They need to benefit from this American education to be able to find job. Because the purpose not only to get degree from American University, the purpose to be benefited from this degree to improve their life, right, and to get the job.
And you know, we say American University, American degree, but they're learning the foundational principles.
Correct.
And those are applicable worldwide.
Yes.
I mean, you know, just for example, if you want to use a LIFO, you know, last in, first out inventory control method, that doesn't change if you're in Vietnam or Germany or France or the US.
Correct.
Well, but I think one of the things that is important that I think CAPRI allows us to think about is, okay, so that your example, I'm so sorry, I'm not a business person. I can't even regurgitate that back right now. It has no relevance to me. But the content, right? That's what we're talking about, that foundational knowledge. It's so important to learn it so well so that we can understand then, like as a student, right, that I understand then how to apply it to my own context. And part of my ability to do that is in this environment in which I'm encouraged to think about how it applies to my own context, right? So like the professor would then have to like take a moment and recognize and set up the classroom environment to say like, okay, like here's what it means. Now, how does this look in various contexts, right? Like, how does culture impact this? How does language impact this? Like, what are some hurdles that you might face? I think about like the South Korean Airlines problem, where they started speaking English to overcome this problem of planes crashing because of the hierarchical nature of Korean language. But if you talk in English, then it's okay to be critical of your superiors, and then you prevent the airplane from crashing. So like, I don't know, I think that opening up and allowing students the space is really where, but that's a whole new orientation instead of like, this is how it looks, and that kind of more militant teaching about like how to understand a concept. I don't know.
No, you're correct. I mean, because in their environment, in their culture, it may look different. The theory's there, the understanding's there, but LIFO is the same, like you said, but how they utilize it in the different areas or the different countries, the different organizations may be different. And that's what we need to help them to understand through our instruction. We're giving you the foundation. Now, let's talk about how you would apply it in your environment. Take it to the next step, the next level.
Right. And LIFO is probably that it's on, people don't know the method by name, but they know it once they hear, okay, gasoline prices that you pay for the gas that you put in your tank are generally through a LIFO principle, because they take the last delivery, the price at the last delivery, and that's what goes on to the pump. So everyone's impacted by it. They just don't realize it. Eggs, which are valuable right now, and milk, they're more of a FIFO, first in, first out, because they're perishable. They go bad. And so once you can apply it to something that everyone uses, like filling their gas tank, buying groceries, you're going to then provide that context. But if you're not grounded in it first, you yourself as a faculty member, it's that much more difficult.
Yes.
So Jocelyn, did that help you understand LIFO?
See, like I didn't even absorb that because it's not relevant to my life. I just
gasoline in car.
I have no control over that.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that everyone is now in the main room. Let me check before we move on. I think so. Let me just recheck. Wonderful. Thank you so much for all these ideas, these wonderful conversations that we're having concerning why it's important to have this theoretical framework so as to guarantee effective teaching and, of course, learning. So let me share my screen again. Sorry, let me just, I don't find it now. Sorry about this. I don't know what happens with the, Okay, there you go. Yeah. Zoom is not recognizing my slides, but I have to open. Wonderful. Okay.
I'm here if you need me, Dr. Shao.
Thank you. Let me see. I think there it is now. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have great conversations. Unfortunately, because of time, we won't be able to have a larger discussion on this, but keep in mind that this is just the first of our many meetings that we are having in 2023, because actually in 2023, the Light Center Professional Development Department has planned 7 webinars where faculty will be able to discuss, reflect on the CAPRI framework and its components. During each webinar, you will learn what CAPRI looks like in the classroom. I think it's very important that we know theory, but we also know, okay, what is it exactly that I need to do? What is it exactly? What it looks like in an effective classroom situation, and how you can easily provide your students with contextualized, applied, practical, relevant, and inclusive learning experience. So a Google invite, as we normally do, will be sent prior to the dates, and you will also be able to register on Spoke. We invite you to join Spoke. As we said before, CAPRI is not new. This is just, we systematized what we are doing already. So we have lots of resources already available for you on Spoke to help you and to support you in your quest for effective teaching. We also, additionally, as I stated before, we are designing CAPRI mini modules on Spoke. These courses will take no longer than an hour to complete, and they will be self-paced. There will be a balance between theory and practice, and they will provide you with the tools that you need to teach your classes using the CAPRI framework. And we have more for you. Based on the CAPRI framework, please remember that we are now revamping the classroom visits form that the Light Center members use when they join your BCS, your OCS, your classes. This way, the new form will contain descriptors dealing with each specific CAPRI component and how it is expected to be implemented in the classrooms, regardless of the course and modality that you teach. And you may wonder when our next CAPRI webinar is. Well, we got you covered. On April 13th, we will be offering 2 sessions, as we are doing today, at 8 a.m. and 12 noon Pacific time, in which we will explore contextualization in CAPRI. These are optional but strongly recommended sessions where you will have the opportunity to discuss with your colleagues how you can contextualize your classes in order to offer students with a learning experience that is aligned with their interest and expertise. Now, are you ready to challenge your CAPRI knowledge? I think we have a couple of minutes to do that. Now it is time to challenge your CAPRI knowledge. I will be sharing a link in the chat box. Let me do that right now. There you go. Okay, so I will be sharing a link in the chat box, and we'll end this conversation with a bit of a friendly competition. Go to the Menti that I just shared with you and enter the code either on the link or the code provided on the screen, or just access, you can access as you want. You can also scan the QR code. You will have only a few seconds to answer these questions. So before I move to the next screen, are you ready? If you are, let me just start.
Does anyone else just see like a heart? Or is this my problem?
I just see a heart.
I just see a
You see a heart.
So I keep clicking the heart. I keep loving whatever you have that I can't see.
I don't see anything.
It says instructions and then a heart.
Correct.
Oh, interesting.
No
I don't see that.
That must be us hearting it.
We're sending you lots of love, Dr. Shao.
Maybe.
At minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Let me share again. This is very strange. So let me share that again. Professor, okay. Thank you. Let me share that again. Let me share my screen then. Let's see. Okay, can you see that now?
We see the
Yes, we see your slide, Dr. Shao. When we go to menti.com and enter in the number, the code. It shows us in the word instruction
okay,
and then a beautiful little heart.
Yes, of course, because I'm the one starting this competition. You will only have seconds. If you're right there, I see the likes. Those hearts are likes. Like, I like this idea. I really like Menti. Try it. Okay, so let's get started. Question 1. So everyone is there. Perfect. Answer as fast as possible. The C in CAPRI framework stands for? You have 10 seconds to vote.
And seconds. You are generous. Very generous, Dr. Shauheda.
Because it's a free version, so I had to be generous. If it's a paid version, then you can customize and tailor time. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So you got it. Okay. It's contextualized. Now, question 2. There you go. The A in CAPRI framework stands for applied, analytic, or asynchronous. Let's see. Almost there. Yes, most of you got it. It stands for applied learning. Let's see. Good. Question 3. Ready? Sorry. This is going too fast. Okay. The P for CAPRI, in CAPRI framework stands for personalized, professional, or practical.
Press the wrong one.
Time's up. You got this. It's actually practical. It has to be personalized as well, but the P stands for practical. Let's see how we're doing. Good. Who is JS? We'll see. Okay, we'll see later. Question 4. The R in CAPRI framework stands for relevant, reliable, resilient. Good. So very good. You got this. Last but not least, let's see how we're doing. There we go. Last question. The I for CAPRI in the CAPRI framework stands for international, inclusive, innovative. Almost. Well, most of you got it. It's actually for inclusive. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let me see. Okay, who won? Okay, we have. There we are. Who is JS?
It's a little unfair.
You
I
always
knew it.
win.
I knew it.
I have realized that. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Let me share the last slide, the presentation.
That was fun, Dr. Shauheda. Thank you so much for that.
I didn't know that Menti could do that.
It's new. It's wonderful. Try. There are lots of templates, lots of competitions, lots of idea. Of course, I'm using the free version, which means that I'm limited to tailor certain bits, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. Okay, Dr. Flores, the floor is yours.
Okay, everyone, I hope you had a great time today. Thank you all for your active participation. Thank you for your engagement throughout the session. Your insights, your experiences really did add greatly to our understanding of the topic. Panel members, thank you so much. Faculty, I really want to encourage you to continue this CAPRI conversation, continue to share your thoughts, insights with your peers. Your contributions, like the ones that you gave at this session, your effort that you gave this session, even at, for some of you, 8 in the morning, it's really valuable, makes a difference. So let's adjourn this session. Let's continue the importance of our work in the classroom. I will see you on April 13th again, as we cover the C in CAPRI contextualization. Until then, have a great day ahead.